She let a stranger sit at her table in a crowded restaurant. They talked, she sketched his face, and he quietly paid her bill before leaving. What she didn't know, the polite man in the charcoal coat was a billionaire mafia boss. And that simple drawing just made her the most dangerous witness in New York. The restaurant was so packed that Iris could barely hear herself think. Marcello's was always busy on Friday nights, but tonight felt different. Louder, more chaotic, with every table crammed full and a line of annoyed customers snaking out the door. Iris had claimed her corner booth 40 minutes ago and wasn't about to give it up, even if the hostess kept shooting her looks that could cut glass. She spread her iPad across the red-checkered tablecloth, stylus moving in quick, confident strokes. The client wanted whimsical but professional, whatever that meant, for their new bakery logo. She'd already gone through 8 variations. This would be number 9. "Excuse me." Iris didn't look up. "Booth's taken." "I can see that." The voice was low, calm, and uncomfortably close. She glanced up and found a man standing at the edge of her table, tall, maybe mid-30s, wearing a charcoal wool coat that probably cost more than her rent. His dark hair was swept back, his jaw sharp enough to be carved from marble, and his eyes. His eyes were the kind of gray that looked silver under certain light. Right now, they looked like polished steel. "The hostess said I could share," he said, not quite asking permission. Iris opened her mouth to argue, but the hostess appeared behind him with an apologetic smile and a menu. "I'm so sorry, Han, but we're absolutely slammed tonight. Would you mind terribly? It's just until a table opens up." The man was already sliding into the booth across from her. Iris sighed.
"Fine.
"But I'm working, so." "I won't bother you," he said simply. And he didn't. For the next 10 minutes, he sat perfectly still, hands folded on the table, staring at nothing in particular. He didn't look at his phone, didn't fidget, didn't order. When the waiter came by, he waved him off with a subtle gesture that somehow communicated both politeness and finality. Iris tried to focus on her work, but something about him was off. Not threatening exactly, just present in a way most people weren't. Like he was taking up more space than his body actually occupied. She snuck a glance at him over the top of her iPad. He was watching the room. Not her, the room. His gaze moved slowly from the bar to the front door, lingering on a table near the kitchen, then sliding back to the entrance. It was the kind of surveillance someone did when they were expecting trouble. Iris's stomach tightened.
Great.
I'm sharing a booth with a paranoid weirdo. But then something even stranger happened. The couple at the table beside them stood up abruptly, leaving half-finished plates of pasta behind. The woman looked pale. The man gripped her elbow a little too tightly as they hurried toward the exit. At the bar, the bartender, a guy Iris recognized from a dozen Friday nights, pulled off his apron, mumbled something to the manager and walked out mid-shift. The manager herself disappeared into the back and didn't return. Within 15 minutes, the restaurant had gone from bursting at the seams to eerily quiet. Only a handful of tables remained occupied, and even they looked like they were wrapping up fast. Iris frowned. What the hell? People leave, the man said quietly, still not looking at her. It's what they do. That's not an answer. No, he agreed. It's not. His voice had a faint accent, Italian, maybe, or something close to it. It softened the edges of his words, but didn't make him sound any less dangerous. Iris should have been scared. Instead, she was annoyed. Look, if you're waiting for someone shady, can you do it at a different table? I've got a deadline, and I don't need whatever this is. For the first time since he sat down, the man looked directly at her. And Iris felt the air shift. It wasn't attraction, not exactly. It was more like standing too close to a fire. The heat was there whether you wanted it or not. I'm not waiting for anyone, he said. And I apologize if I've made you uncomfortable. That wasn't my intention. Then what is your intention? A faint smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. To sit quietly and not be noticed. Yeah, well, you're failing. The smile widened, just barely. Apparently, Iris should have left, packed up her stuff, paid her bill, and gotten out of there while she still could. But something stubborn flared up inside her, the same stubborn streak that had gotten her through art school and a dozen terrible freelance gigs. She wasn't going to let some mysterious stranger chase her out of her favorite restaurant. "You have a name?" she asked, setting down her stylus. "Damiano." "Just Damiano?" "For now." "That's cryptic. It's practical." Iris snorted.
Right.
"I'm Iris, by the way, since we're apparently booth mates now." "Iris," he repeated, like he was testing the weight of it. "It suits you." "You don't even know me." "I know you're an artist," Damiano said, nodding toward her iPad. "And that you don't scare easily. How do you figure? You're still here." "Fair point." Iris glanced around the nearly empty restaurant. The few remaining diners were paying their checks, gathering coats, avoiding eye contact with anyone, especially with Damiano. "Why are they leaving?" she asked quietly. "Because they're smart. And I'm not." "You're curious," Damiano said. "That's different." He leaned back slightly, and Iris caught a glimpse of something dark beneath his coat, a suit, perfectly tailored, with a silk tie that probably cost more than her entire wardrobe. This wasn't a man who just had money. This was a man who was money. Old money. Dangerous money. "Can I see what you're working on?" he asked. Iris hesitated, then turned the iPad toward him. He studied the bakery logo for a long moment, his expression unreadable. "You're talented." "Thanks. But you're overthinking it." "Excuse me?" Damiano tapped the screen lightly.
Here.
"The flourish is too much. Simplify the line, and it'll feel more honest." Iris stared at him. "You have opinions about graphic design?" "I have opinions about most things." Shocking. But when she looked back at the design, she realized he was right. The flourish was too much. She adjusted the line with 3 quick strokes, and the whole thing clicked into place. "Huh," she muttered. "Not bad. I'm occasionally useful." Iris looked up at him. Really looked this time. He was handsome in that sharp, dangerous way that made smart women keep their distance. But there was something else beneath the surface. Something quiet and controlled, like a blade kept in a velvet sheath. "You want me to draw you?" she asked impulsively. Damiano went very still. "Why would you do that?" "Because you've got an interesting face. And because I'm bored." "I don't think that's a good idea. It's just a sketch. I won't even keep it." For a moment, she thought he'd refuse. But then he settled back into the booth, hands folded again, and gave her the faintest nod. "5 minutes," he said. Iris grabbed a clean page on her iPad and started working. She'd drawn hundreds of faces over the years, friends, strangers, models from reference photos. But Damiano's face was different. Every line mattered. The sharp angle of his jaw. The faint scar above his left eyebrow. The way his mouth stayed neutral even when his eyes betrayed the slightest flicker of amusement. But it was his eyes that made her pause. They weren't just gray. They were layered, like looking into deep water where the bottom kept shifting. There was intelligence there and control, and something else she couldn't quite name. Something that made her hands hesitate for just a second too long. Damiano noticed. "Problem?" "No," Iris said quickly. "Just getting the details right." When she finished, the restaurant was almost completely empty. Just one couple left near the kitchen, and they were already standing up to leave. Iris turned the iPad around. Damiano stared at the sketch for a long time without saying anything. Then he stood up. "Thank you," he said quietly, pulling out a wallet. "You don't have to." He placed $300 bills on the table. "For your meal. And your time." "That's way too much." Consider it an investment. He buttoned his coat and slid a black metal card across the table toward her. It was smooth, matte, with only 3 letters engraved in silver. RRC. "If you ever need anything," Damiano said, "call that number." And then he was gone. Iris sat alone in the empty restaurant, staring at the card in her hand and wondering what the hell had just happened. Iris didn't get home until almost midnight. Her apartment was a cramped one-bedroom in Brooklyn, the kind of place where the radiator clanked like a dying animal and the neighbors upstairs seemed to rearrange furniture at 2 in the morning. But it was hers, and after the weirdness at Marcello's, she was grateful for anything familiar. She dropped her bag on the kitchen counter and pulled out the black metal card. C. No phone number. No website. Just 3 letters stamped in silver that caught the light like a warning. What are you? The deadbolt clicked behind her. Iris jumped, spinning around to find her brother Noah letting himself in with the spare key she'd given him 6 months ago. He looked terrible, hair sticking up at odd angles, dark circles under his eyes, his usual easy smile nowhere to be found.
Jesus, Noah.
It's midnight. What are you? He saw the card in her hand and went completely white. Where did you get that? A guy at dinner gave it to me.
Why?
Noah crossed the room in 3 strides and snatched the card from her fingers. A guy? What guy? What did he look like? Tall, dark hair, expensive coat. His name was Damiano. He was actually pretty nice in a weird, intense kind of way. Damiano? Noah's voice cracked.
Damiano Russo.
He didn't give me a last name. Oh my God, Noah sank onto her couch, still gripping the card like it might explode. Oh my God, Iris. What did you do? I didn't do anything. We shared a booth, because the restaurant is crowded. We talked for like 20 minutes, I sketched him, and then he left. That's it. You sketched him?
Yeah.
So what? Noah looked at her like she'd just confessed to murder. So what? So what? Iris, do you have any idea who Damiano Russo is? Obviously not, or I wouldn't be asking. Her brother stood up and started pacing, running his hands through his hair in that way he did when he was about to have a full-blown panic attack. Iris had seen that look before, usually right before he admitted he'd gotten fired or blown his rent money on something stupid. But this felt different. This felt worse.
Noah, talk to me.
He stopped pacing and turned to face her, and for the first time in years, Iris saw genuine fear in his eyes. C stands for Russo Crime Consortium, he said quietly. They run half the underground gambling networks on the East Coast. Loan sharking, debt collection, money laundering, you name it, they own it. And Damiano Russo isn't just part of it. He's the head, the boss, the guy everyone's terrified of. Iris felt her stomach drop. You're joking. Do I look like I'm joking? She thought back to the restaurant. The way people had cleared out. The bartender leaving mid-shift. The manager disappearing into the back.
People leave.
It's what they do.
He seemed so
normal, she said weakly. That's how he operates. He doesn't need to be loud or violent. People just know. And now you've got his business card, which means he wants you to have a way to contact him. Which means Noah's voice cracked again. Which means he's keeping tabs on you. That's insane. Why would he care about me? I don't know. Maybe because you sketched him? Nobody documents Damiano Russo, Iris. He doesn't do photos, doesn't do press, barely exists on paper. If you've got a drawing of his face. He trailed off, but Iris understood. Evidence. Identification.
Proof.
Where's the sketch? Noah asked. On my iPad. Delete it. Right now. Noah. Right now, Iris. She'd never heard that tone from him before. Noah was the fun brother, the charming one, the guy who could talk his way out of anything with a smile and a joke. He didn't give orders. He didn't sound scared.
Until now.
Iris pulled out her iPad and opened the sketch file. Damiano's face stared back at her. Perfectly captured. Every detail exact. It was some of her best work. Her finger hovered over the delete button. He paid for my dinner, she said. Left me $300. He was polite. He didn't threaten me or... That's worse, Noah interrupted. Don't you get it? If he was some low-level thug, he would have threatened you. But Damiano Russo doesn't make threats. He makes investments. And if he gave you that card, it's because he thinks you might be useful. Useful for what? I don't know. And I don't want to find out. Iris looked back at the sketch. Something about deleting it felt wrong, not because of the art but because of what it represented. Damiano had sat for her. He'd let her capture something real. That had to mean something. I'll delete it tomorrow, she said. Iris. I said tomorrow. I'm tired, and I need to think. Noah looked like he wanted to argue, but he just shook his head and tossed the black card onto her coffee table.
Fine.
But stay away from him. Don't call that number. Don't go looking for answers. Just forget this ever happened. Sure, Iris said.
Easy.
But even as Noah left, locking the door behind him with shaking hands, she knew forgetting wasn't an option. She walked to the window and pulled back the curtain. On the street below, a dark sedan sat idling at the curb.
No headlights.
No driver visible. Just waiting. Iris let the curtain fall and turned off the lights, her heart hammering in her chest. People leave. It's what they do. But not everyone. Some people stayed to watch. Iris didn't sleep well. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw that dark sedan idling outside her building. By the time dawn broke through her curtains, she convinced herself it had been nothing, just a rideshare driver waiting for a fare, or someone's paranoid boyfriend staking out the wrong address. You're overthinking this. She made coffee, sent the bakery logo to her client, and tried to pretend Friday night had never happened. The sketch stayed on her iPad, unopened. The black metal card stayed on her coffee table, untouched. By noon, she'd almost succeeded in forgetting. Then Saturday happened. The Brooklyn flea market set up every weekend in an old warehouse near the waterfront. Iris had been renting the same booth for 2 years, 10 feet of space where she sold prints, took commission requests, and occasionally made enough money to justify the booth fee. Today was busy. Tourists mixed with locals, everyone hunting for vintage clothes, handmade jewelry, and overpriced artisanal coffee. Iris had already sold 3 prints and picked up a commission for a family portrait when she felt it. That same presence from the restaurant. She looked up. Damiano Russo stood 3 booths away, hands in the pockets of a navy peacoat, studying a display of antique books like he had all the time in the world. Iris's breath caught.
No.
No way. This is coincidence. But as she watched, Damiano closed the book he'd been examining, said something polite to the vendor, and walked directly toward her booth.
No hesitation.
No pretense of browsing. He stopped in front of her table, those steel-gray eyes meeting hers with unsettling calm. Good afternoon, Iris. Her mouth went dry. What are you doing here? Shopping. He gestured to the prints displayed on her table. These are yours. Yeah. They're good. Better than good. He picked up a print, a Brooklyn street scene she'd done in watercolor, all brownstones and golden light. You have a gift for capturing moments that other people miss. Thanks, Iris said carefully. But you didn't come here to buy art. No, Damiano agreed. I came to make you an offer. He reached into his coat and pulled out an envelope, thick, cream-colored paper that looked like it cost more per sheet than her entire stack of prints. $10,000, he said quietly. For the sketch you made of me last night. Iris stared at the envelope. You're serious. Completely. It's just a drawing. It's a very specific drawing. Damiano set the envelope on her table, careful not to disturb her displayed work. And I'd prefer it not exist. This is more than fair compensation. Iris felt something twist in her chest. Anger, maybe, or pride. I'm not selling it. Why not? Because it's not about the money. You sat for me. I created something. That makes it mine, not yours. Damiano studied her for a long moment, and Iris had the uncomfortable sensation of being read like one of her own sketches, every line examined, every detail catalogued. You have integrity, he said finally. That's rare. I have self-respect. That's different. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. Perhaps he picked up the envelope and slid it back into his coat. Then I'll make a different offer.
Keep the sketch if you'd like.
But if anyone asks about me, police, journalists, people you don't know, contact me first. Why would anyone ask about you? Because you were seen with me, and people notice things like that. Before Iris could respond, two men appeared at the edge of her booth. They weren't large or obviously threatening, but something about them screamed professional. Dark jackets, neutral expressions, the kind of stillness that suggested they were very good at waiting for orders. Damiano didn't even glance at them. Give Ms. Blake the information. One of the men stepped forward and placed a business card on Iris's table, this one white, with an actual phone number printed in black ink. If anyone contacts you regarding Mr. Russo, the man said in a flat, corporate tone, please call this number immediately. We'll handle the situation appropriately. Handle it how? Iris demanded. Discreetly. The second man spoke for the first time. Ms. Iris Blake, 26 years old. Freelance illustrator. Lives at 447, Sterling Place, apartment 3B. Brother is Noah Blake, 24, currently employed at a tech startup in Manhattan. Iris felt ice slide down her spine. How do you? We're thorough, Damiano said simply. It's not a threat, Iris. It's a courtesy. I want you to understand that I take your safety seriously. My safety? You're the one who's dangerous. Yes, Damiano agreed. Which is exactly why I'm concerned. He nodded to his men, who stepped back in perfect synchronization, and then turned his attention back to Iris. Up close, she could see the faint tiredness around his eyes, the slight tension in his jaw. This wasn't a man who slept easy. I didn't mean to involve you in my world, he said quietly. But now that you are, I'd prefer you survive it. Please, if anyone approaches you, call that number. And if I don't, then you'll deal with the consequences alone. And I promise you, Iris, you don't want that. He left without another word, his two men flanking him as they disappeared into the crowd. Iris stood frozen behind her booth, staring at the white business card and feeling her carefully normal life crack apart like glass. A woman approached, asking about prices. Iris barely heard her. All she could think about was the way Damiano's men had recited her address, her brother's workplace, without hesitation or effort. They knew everything. And somehow, that was supposed to make her feel safe. The detective's office smelled like burnt coffee and old paperwork. Iris sat in an uncomfortable plastic chair, wondering for the 10th time why she'd agreed to come here. The phone call had come Monday morning, polite but firm, a woman identifying herself as Detective Maria Salinas with the NYPD Organized Crime Unit. We'd like to ask you a few questions about an incident Friday night. Nothing serious. Just routine. Nothing about this felt routine. Detective Salinas was younger than Iris expected, maybe late 30s, with sharp brown eyes and dark hair pulled into a no-nonsense ponytail. She had the look of someone who'd stopped believing in coincidences a long time ago. She dropped a manila folder on the desk between them. Thank you for coming in, Ms. Blake. I know this is inconvenient. You made it sound pretty urgent, Iris said. It is. Salinas opened the folder and pulled out a grainy security photo. Do you recognize this man? Iris's stomach tightened. The image was taken from a high angle, probably a security camera mounted near the ceiling. It showed Marcello's restaurant, crowded with Friday night diners. And there, clear as day, sat Damiano Russo in a corner booth. Across from him sat Iris, her iPad visible on the table. That's me, Iris said carefully. And yeah, I recognize him. He shared my booth because the restaurant was packed. We talked for maybe 20 minutes. Did he tell you his name? Damiano. No last name. Salinas pulled out another photo. This one showed a different man, older, heavy-set, wearing a cheap suit. He was sitting 3 tables away from Iris and Damiano, eating alone. Do you remember seeing this person? Iris squinted at the image. Maybe? I don't know. The place was crowded. His name was Vincent Moretti. Low-level contractor, mostly freelance work. Collections, intimidation, the occasional cleanup job. Salinas's voice stayed perfectly neutral. He was found dead in his apartment Sunday morning. 2 shots to the head, professional execution. The heirs seemed to leave the room. What does that have to do with me? Iris whispered. Moretti was at Marcello's Friday night because he'd been hired to kill Damiano Russo. We pulled his phone records. He received a payment deposit 3 days before, along with Russo's location and schedule. Salinas tapped the photo. But something went wrong. Moretti never took the shot. In fact, he left the restaurant 20 minutes after Russo arrived and didn't make contact. Iris's mind raced back to Friday night. The way people had cleared out. The couple abandoning their dessert. The bartender leaving mid-shift. They knew. You think Damiano killed him? I think Damiano's people handled it. He doesn't get his own hands dirty. That's how he stayed untouchable for 8 years. Salinas leaned forward. But here's where it gets interesting. Moretti wasn't afraid of Russo. His phone shows multiple texts to his handler saying the job was still on. He had the shot. He had the opportunity. But he didn't take it. Why not? That's what we're trying to figure out. Salinas pulled out one more photo. This one showing Iris and Damiano in clear profile, mid-conversation. And then there's you. A civilian with no criminal record, no connection to organized crime, sitting across from one of the most dangerous men on the East Coast. Having a nice chat. Sketching his portrait. Iris felt her face flush. It was just a drawing. A drawing that proves Damiano Russo was present at a location where an assassination attempt was being planned. A drawing that puts him at the scene. Salinas's eyes hardened. That makes you a witness, Ms. Blake. I didn't witness anything. You witnessed him. That's enough. The detective stood and walked to the window, hands clasped behind her back. Outside, the city hummed with its usual chaos. Traffic, construction, life moving forward like everything was normal. We've been trying to build a case against Russo for 3 years, Salinas said. Racketeering, money laundering, conspiracy to commit murder.
We know he's guilty.
We just can't prove it. Every witness disappears. Every piece of evidence gets buried. Every lawyer he hires is better than ours. So, what do you want from me? Salinas turned around. I want you to wear a wire. Russo clearly trusts you, or at least finds you interesting. He gave you his business card. He approached you at a public market. He's keeping tabs on you. That doesn't mean he trusts me. It means he's invested. And that's enough. The detective crossed her arms. We set up another meeting. You ask him questions. Get him talking about his business, his operations. Even small details help. Anything he says can be used to build our case. Iris stood up, her chair scraping against the linoleum floor.
No.
Absolutely not. Ms. Blake. I met the guy once. We had a conversation. I drew a picture. That's it. I'm not a spy, and I'm not getting involved in whatever this is. You're already involved, Salinas said flatly. The moment you sat across from him, you became a variable in a very dangerous equation. And variables get eliminated. Then arrest him. Protect me. Do your job. We can't arrest him without evidence. And we can't protect you forever. The detective's voice softened slightly. But if you help us, we can put him away. Make sure he never threatens you, or anyone else again.
Jeg skapt her bag.
I'm not doing this. Think about it. There's nothing to think about. I met him once. He was polite. He paid for my dinner. That's all I know. Salinas stepped between Iris and the door. You're making a mistake. That's my choice. For a long moment, the detective just stared at her. Then she stepped aside and pulled out a business card, standard NYPD issue, worn at the edges. When you change your mind, Salinas said, call me. Iris took the card and left without another word. But as she walked out of the police station into the cold November afternoon, one thought kept circling through her mind. That's exactly why he'll talk to you. Iris made it home by 6 o'clock, exhausted and rattled. The conversation with Detective Salinas had left her feeling like she'd been pulled into someone else's nightmare. Assassins.
Wiretaps.
Organized crime. None of it made sense. She was a freelance illustrator who ate ramen 3 nights a week and bought her clothes at Target. She wasn't supposed to be caught in the middle of a Mafia investigation. Her apartment felt too quiet when she walked in. She locked the deadbolt, kicked off her shoes, and went straight for the kitchen to make tea. Anything to feel normal again. That's when she heard it. Someone was in her bathroom. Iris froze, heart hammering. The door was cracked open, light spilling into the hallway. She could hear water running, then stopping. Movement. She grabbed a kitchen knife from the counter and crept forward. If you're robbing me, I should warn you, I have literally nothing valuable. The bathroom door opened. Noah stood there, his face pale and wet like he'd been splashing cold water on it. His eyes were red-rimmed, and he looked like he hadn't slept in days.
Jesus, Noah.
Iris lowered the knife. You scared the hell out of me. What are you doing here?
I'm sorry.
His voice cracked. I couldn't go home. I didn't know where else to go. Iris set down the knife and studied her brother. He was wearing the same clothes from Saturday. His hands were shaking, and when he looked at her, she saw something she'd never seen before. Genuine terror.
Noah.
What did you do? He sank onto her couch and put his head in his hands. I screwed up. I screwed up so bad, Iris. She sat beside him, dread pooling in her stomach. Talk to me. Remember last year when I got into online poker? You said you stopped. I lied. Noah's voice was barely a whisper. I kept playing. Small games at first, just for fun. But then I started winning, and I thought I could make real money. Pay off my credit cards, maybe save up for a better apartment.
Noah.
I lost $12,000 in 6 weeks. He looked up at her, tears streaming down his face. I maxed out 3 cards, borrowed from friends, even took a payday loan. And when I couldn't pay, the site sold my debt to a collection agency. Iris felt cold. What kind of collection agency? Noah pulled out his phone with shaking hands and showed her an email. The sender was listed as RRC Financial Services. The same initials from Damiano's business card. They gave me 30 days to pay back $15,000 with interest, Noah said. That was 3 weeks ago. I've got 7 days left, and I don't have the money. I don't have anything. Iris stared at the email, her mind racing. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Because I thought I could fix it. I picked up extra shifts, sold everything I owned, even asked my boss for an advance. But it's not enough. It's never enough. He grabbed her hand, desperate. The detective who called you, I know why they want you to wear a wire. They think you can get close to Russo. But Iris, if you do that, if you become an informant, they'll know. Iris finished quietly. They'll know. And they'll kill both of us. Noah's grip tightened. These people don't negotiate. They don't give second chances. You cross them, you disappear. That's how it works. Iris pulled her hand back and stood up, pacing to the window. The street below was empty now. No dark sedan, no watchers. But that almost felt worse. Like they didn't need to watch anymore because they already knew everything. Did they threaten you? She asked. Did anyone from Russo's organization contact you directly?
No.
That's what's so messed up. They just sent automated payment reminders. Professional, polite, like a regular credit card company. But I've heard stories about what happens when people don't pay. They don't break your legs. That's too obvious. They just ruin you, drain your accounts, destroy your credit, get you fired. They make it look legal. Iris thought about Damiano at the flea market, calm and controlled, offering $10,000 like it was pocket change. I take your safety seriously. He'd known.
Of course he'd known.
Her brother owed his organization money, and Damiano had still sat with her, talked to her, let her sketch him. He could have used Noah's debt as leverage from the start. Could have threatened her, intimidated her, forced her cooperation. But he hadn't. That's worse, Noah had said. He makes investments. I need to think, Iris said finally. There's nothing to think about. We stay away from the cops, I figure out how to get the money, and we both keep our heads down. And if you can't get the money. Noah didn't answer. Iris looked at the white business card sitting on her coffee table, the one Damiano's men had given her at the flea market. A direct line to a man who could erase her brother's debt with a phone call. Or make them both disappear just as easily. "I'm not letting them hurt you," she said quietly. "Iris, don't do anything stupid." "I'm serious," she picked up the card. "You're my brother. I'm not going to watch you get destroyed over $12,000. What are you going to do?" Iris stared at the phone number printed in neat black ink. "I don't know yet. But whatever happens, you stay away from the police. Don't talk to Salinas. Don't answer questions. Promise me." Noah nodded, exhausted. "I promise." After he left, Iris sat alone in the dark, holding the business card and wondering if there was any way out of this that didn't end in disaster. The call came Tuesday morning. Iris had been staring at the white business card for 2 days, turning it over in her fingers like a talisman. She typed the number into her phone a dozen times and deleted it just as many. But she never actually called. She didn't have to. Her phone rang at exactly 9 a.m., an unknown number with a New York area code. "Hello. Ms. Blake." The voice was male, professional, familiar. "One of Damiano's men from the flea market. Mr. Russo would like to extend an invitation for dinner this evening. 8 o'clock. A car will pick you up at 7:30. Iris's mouth went dry. "I didn't call you."
No.
"But you were going to." The line went dead. The car arrived precisely at 7:30. Iris had changed clothes 4 times, eventually settling on dark jeans and a simple black sweater, nothing too formal, nothing that suggested she was trying to impress anyone. Her hands shook as she locked her apartment door. This was insane. She was voluntarily walking into the lion's den. But Noah's terrified face kept flashing through her mind. 7 days until the debt was due. 7 days until her brother's life fell apart. The car was a sleek black Mercedes with tinted windows. The driver nodded but didn't speak as she slid into the back seat. They drove south through Brooklyn, then over the Manhattan Bridge as the city lights blurred past. Iris expected a restaurant. Maybe a club. Instead, they pulled up to an unmarked building in Tribeca. Industrial brick, blacked-out windows, a single steel door with no signage. The kind of place you'd never notice unless you knew to look. The driver opened her door. "Second floor. He's expecting you." Inside, a freight elevator carried her up in silence. When the doors opened, Iris stepped into a space that took her breath away. It wasn't a restaurant. It was a casino. But not like any casino she'd seen in movies.
No flashing lights, no crowds, no noise.
Just soft jazz playing over hidden speakers, muted gold lighting, and about 20 people scattered throughout the room, all impeccably dressed, all speaking in low voices as they played poker, blackjack, and roulette with quiet intensity. Everything was elegant,
Controlled.
expensive. A woman in a burgundy suit approached. "Ms. Blake, this way, please." She led Iris through the casino to a private room in the back. Inside was a single table, 2 chairs, and Damiano Russo sitting with his back to the wall, reading something on a tablet. He looked up and stood immediately. "Iris, thank you for coming. Did I have a choice?" "Of course. You always have a choice." He gestured to the chair across from him.
Please. See.
Iris sat, her heart pounding. Up close, in the warm light, Damiano looked tired. There were shadows under his eyes that hadn't been there before, and a tension in his shoulders that suggested he carried more weight than anyone could see. "I assume you know about my brother," Iris said bluntly.
I do.
"And you knew when you sat at my table Friday night." "I did," Damiano confirmed. "Noah Blake owes my organization $14,862, including interest. The debt was purchased from an online gambling platform 3 weeks ago." Iris felt anger flare. "So, what was Friday night? Some kind of game? See if the sister's stupid enough to get involved." "No." Damiano set down his tablet and leaned forward slightly. "Friday night was chance. Real chance. I didn't choose that restaurant because of you. I chose it because I'd received intelligence about Vincent Moretti, the man planning to kill me. I needed to be visible, predictable, to force his hand. You used yourself as bait. I used myself as a target, Damiano corrected. There's a difference. Moretti was a professional, but not a particularly skilled one. I knew he'd hesitate in a crowded space. I knew he'd wait for a better opportunity. And I knew my people would identify him before he could act. So, where do I fit in? Damiano's expression softened almost imperceptibly. You were supposed to leave when everyone else did. That's what people do when they sense danger. They find an excuse and go. The couple next to us, the bartender, even the manager. They all felt it and left. But I didn't.
No.
You stayed. You kept working, kept your head down, didn't show fear. He paused. Moretti was watching me, but he was also watching the room, looking for any sign of setup, any indication that I knew he was there. And then you did something no one expected. What? You treated me like a person. You argued with me, criticized my opinions, drew my portrait like I was just another stranger sharing your booth. Damiano's voice was quiet now.
Moretti saw that.
And it confused him, made him question his intelligence. If I was really there to be assassinated, would I be sitting calmly with a woman who clearly didn't know who I was? Would I let her sketch my face? Iris felt her breath catch. I gave you cover. You gave me credibility. And by the time Moretti realized it didn't matter, it was too late. He'd missed his window. My people were already moving. Damiano spread his hands. So no, Iris. Friday night wasn't a game. It was luck. Yours and mine. And now you're here because you want to negotiate for your brother's debt. It wasn't a question. Iris nodded slowly. What do you want? Damiano reached into his jacket and pulled out a single piece of paper, a debt discharge form, already filled out and signed. Noah's name at the top, a stamped signature at the bottom, paid in full. He slid it across the table. Iris stared at it. What's the catch?
No catch.
Just a request. Damiano's gray eyes met hers. The sketch you made of me. Return it or destroy it. Not because I'm threatening you, but because it makes you valuable to people who shouldn't know you exist. The police already contacted you. Soon others will too. Rival organizations, journalists, federal investigators. Everyone wants leverage against me. And the sketch is leverage. The sketch is proof I exist outside carefully controlled circumstances. That's dangerous for both of us. Iris looked at the discharge form, then back at Damiano. You're just
Forgiving $15,000?
No strings attached. Consider it payment for services rendered. You helped me Friday night without knowing it. This makes us even. That's not how this works. Nobody gives away that kind of money. Damiano stood and buttoned his jacket. I'm not nobody, Iris. And this isn't charity. It's a transaction. Your brother's debt disappears. You destroy the sketch. We both walk away. He headed for the door, then paused. The choice is yours. But make it quickly. The people watching you won't wait forever. Iris left the casino with the debt discharge form folded in her jacket pocket. She should have felt relieved. Noah was free. The debt was erased. All she had to do was delete a sketch and walk away from this whole nightmare. But something about it felt wrong. Nobody gives away that kind of money. The Mercedes dropped her off at her apartment building just before 10. The street was quiet, the November air sharp and cold. Iris pulled her jacket tighter and headed for the entrance. She made it 3 steps before the car door opened behind her. Ms. Blake, we need to talk. Iris spun around. Detective Salinas stepped out of an unmarked sedan parked across the street, her expression hard. She wasn't alone. A male detective followed, older, built like a linebacker, with the kind of face that had seen too much and stopped caring. Are you following me? Iris demanded. We're monitoring a person of interest, Salinas said smoothly. And you just spent an hour in Damiano Russo's private casino. So yes, we're following you. The male detective moved closer, blocking her path to the building.
I'm Detective Martinez.
We're going to need you to come with us. Am I under arrest? Not yet, Martinez said. But we can arrange that if you'd prefer. Iris's hands curled into fists. I want a lawyer. You're not being charged with anything, Selena said. We just want to have a conversation. Unless you've got something to hide. They drove her to an underground parking structure in Lower Manhattan. One of those dim, concrete spaces that smelled like oil and exhaust.
No windows. No cámaras visible.
Just Martinez's sedan parked between two support pillars, far from any exit. Iris's heart hammered. This isn't a police station. No, Selena agreed, leaning against the hood. It's somewhere we can talk honestly. Off the record. You can't do this. We can do a lot of things, Ms. Blake. Especially when we're investigating organized crime. Martinez crossed his arms.
Now.
You want to tell us what Damiano Russo wanted tonight? Iris stayed silent. Selena sighed and pulled out her phone, swiping through photos. We've been watching that casino for 8 months. We know everyone who goes in and out. High-level gamblers, money launderers, corrupt politicians. And now you, a freelance artist with no criminal record. She held up the phone, showing a photo of Iris entering the building. So, either you're incredibly stupid, or Russo's grooming you for something. Which is it? I met with him. That's not illegal. Meeting with a known organized crime figure while under investigation absolutely gives us grounds to question you, Martinez said. Especially since we know your brother owes Russo's organization over $15,000. Iris felt ice in her veins. How do you? We know everything, Ms. Blake. Noah's gambling debts, his employment history, his apartment lease. We know you're struggling to make rent. We know you've been looking for steady work for 6 months. Salinas stepped closer. And we know Russo just offered to make all of Noah's problems disappear. Am I right? Iris said nothing. Here's what's really happening, Salinas continued. You think Damiano Russo is being generous, forgiving debts, protecting you, treating you with respect. But that's how he operates. He finds people who are vulnerable, people with problems he can solve, and he makes them dependent. First it's a debt forgiveness. Then it's a favor. Then it's a job. Before you know it, you're part of his network. He's not recruiting me. Not yet. But he's laying groundwork. Salinas pulled out another photo, this one showing the sketch Iris had made. We need that drawing, Ms. Blake. It puts Russo at the restaurant the night Vincent Moretti was killed. With it, we can prove he was present at a crime scene. We can start building a conspiracy case. Iris stared at the photo. That's what this is about? You don't care about protecting me. You just want evidence. We care about putting a dangerous criminal behind bars, Martinez said. And yeah, we need evidence to do that. Your sketch is part of that evidence. Moretti's death was mob business, Salinas added. Russo ordered that hit, even if he didn't pull the trigger. But we can't prove it without documentation. The sketch places him at the scene. Your testimony about his behavior, his movements, it all builds the case. Iris felt sick. You lied to me. You said you wanted to protect me. We do want to protect you. By removing the threat permanently, Salinas's voice hardened. But if you destroy that sketch, if you take Russo's deal, you're obstructing justice. And that is illegal. So what? You'll arrest me for deleting my own artwork. We'll arrest you for interfering with an active investigation, withholding evidence, conspiracy to aid a criminal organization. Martinez counted off on his fingers. We've got enough to make your life very difficult, Ms. Blake. You think your career's struggling now? Wait until you've got a federal record. Iris's hands shook with rage. You're supposed to be the good guys. We're the good guys, Salinas said quietly. We're trying to stop a man who's destroyed hundreds of lives, ruined families, ordered murders. And yes, we need your help to do it. That's not corruption. That's reality. Reality is you don't care what happens to me as long as you get your conviction. Reality is you're already in danger, Martinez said. Russo knows the sketch exists. So do his enemies. So do we. That drawing makes you a target no matter what you do. The only question is whether you help us put him away or you become another casualty in a war you don't understand. Salinas stepped closer, her voice dropping. Hand over the sketch. Testify about what you saw. Help us build the case. And when this is over, we'll put you in witness protection. New name, new city, new life. You and Noah both. Or, Iris whispered. Or you take Russo's deal and hope he's as honorable as you think he is. Salinas' smile was cold. But I've been doing this for 12 years, Ms. Blake. And I've never met a mob boss who kept his promises. They drove her home in silence. As Iris climbed the stairs to her apartment, one thought echoed through her mind. Everyone wants something. Nobody's offering protection. They're all just offering different versions of the same trap. Iris didn't tell Noah about the parking garage. She made it home, locked herself in her apartment, and sat in the dark for 2 hours trying to figure out what the hell to do. The debt discharge form sat on her coffee table next to her iPad, 2 opposing futures laid out like chess pieces. Destroy the sketch, free Noah, trust Damiano. Or keep the sketch, become a witness, trust the police. Either way, she was someone's pawn. She fell asleep on the couch around midnight, too exhausted to make it to her bedroom. The explosion woke her at 2:15 a.m. The sound was massive, a deep, concussive whump that rattled every window in her apartment and set off a dozen car alarms simultaneously. Iris jerked upright, heart hammering, completely disoriented. Then she smelled smoke. She ran to the window and looked down at the street. 3 cars were on fire. Not just burning, engulfed. Flames 30 feet high, black smoke billowing into the night sky. The cars closest to her building, a Honda, a BMW, and someone's ancient pickup truck, had been turned into infernos. Glass littered the sidewalk. The heat was so intense, she could feel it through her 3rd-floor window. People poured out of the building in pajamas and bathrobes, screaming, pointing, pulling out phones to call 911. Iris grabbed her jacket and ran. Noah lived in Manhattan, but she called him anyway as she clattered down the stairs. He answered on the first ring, wide awake. Iris? I just saw, are you okay?
Ai fine.
Someone firebombed the street outside my building. What? 3 cars. Right below my apartment, she hit the ground floor and pushed through the crowd gathering on the sidewalk. Noah, this wasn't random. Where are you? I'm coming to get you.
No.
Stay where you are. I'll call you back. She hung up and stared at the burning wreckage. Fire trucks were already approaching, sirens wailing. Police weren't far behind. But all Iris could think about was the positioning. 3 cars. All parked directly in front of her building. All destroyed with military precision. This was a message. Ms. Blake. Iris spun around. One of Damiano's men stood 10 feet away, the same one who'd spoken at the flea market. He looked calm, hands in his pockets, like watching cars burn was just another Tuesday night. You need to come with me, he said. Like hell. This wasn't Mr. Russo's people. This was the Castellanos. They think you're an asset, which makes you a target. He gestured to a black SUV idling at the corner. You can come with me, or you can wait for them to try again. Your choice. Iris looked back at the burning cars. The heat. The chaos. The neighbors who might have been hurt if the explosion had been bigger or better aimed. She followed him to the SUV. They drove north into Queens, away from the sirens and smoke. The man, he finally introduced himself as Marcus, explained in clipped, efficient sentences. The Castellanos run operations in Jersey and parts of Queens. They've been trying to move into Brooklyn for 3 years. Mr. Russo's territory. It's been a cold war, no bodies, no public incidents. Just financial pressure and quiet intimidation. Then why blow up my street? Because you were seen with Mr. Russo.
Twice.
That makes you valuable either as an informant or as leverage. The Castellanos don't know which, so they're sending a message. Stay away from Russo, or we'll make your life hell. Iris felt bile rise in her throat. I'm not working for Damiano. I barely know him. Doesn't matter. Perception is reality in this world. Marcus glanced at her in the rear-view mirror. They're not trying to kill you. Not yet. Tonight was a warning. They wanted you scared. Well, it worked.
Good.
Fear keeps people alive. They pulled up to a plain apartment building in Astoria. Marcus led her to a second-floor unit, clean, furnished, anonymous. The kind of place that could belong to anyone or no one. "You'll stay here tonight," Marcus said. "We've got people watching the building. No one gets in without us knowing. And tomorrow? That depends on what you decide to do." He left without elaborating. Iris stood alone in this strange apartment, shaking. She tried calling Noah again, but he didn't answer, probably already on his way to Brooklyn. She texted him her location and told him not to panic. Then she sat on the edge of the bed and put her head in her hands. This was insane. People were trying to intimidate her, maybe hurt her, because they thought she mattered to a man she'd met 3 times. Her street was a crime scene. Her neighbors were traumatized. And somewhere, the Castellanos were probably watching the news and feeling satisfied with their work. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Check your email." Iris opened her laptop with trembling hands. The email was from her landlord, a brief, formal message with an attachment. "Dear Ms. Blake, due to unforeseen circumstances and building safety concerns, we are terminating your lease effective immediately. Per Section 123 of your rental agreement, you will receive a full refund of your security deposit and last month's rent within 48 hours. We apologize for any inconvenience." Attached was a check receipt, already processed, already deposited into her account. 2 months' rent, exactly what she was owed.
No explanation.
No mention of the firebombing, just a quiet, efficient severing of ties. Iris stared at the screen. Her landlord had connections. Everyone in Brooklyn did in one way or another. And someone, whether Russo's people, the Castellanos, or someone else entirely, had convinced him to get rid of his problem tenant. Not with threats. With money.
Clean.
Legal. Untraceable. Iris closed her laptop and looked around the anonymous safe house. She didn't have an apartment anymore. She didn't have a choice anymore. She was already in the middle of a war she didn't understand, and both sides were moving pieces she couldn't see. All because she'd let a stranger sit at her table. Iris spent Wednesday in the safe house, numb and exhausted. Marcus brought her coffee and breakfast but said little. Noah showed up around noon, pale and jittery, and they sat together in silence for an hour before he had to leave for work. He kept apologizing for the debt, for getting her involved, for everything, until Iris told him to stop. None of this was his fault. It was just bad luck compounded by worse timing. By Thursday afternoon, she was going stir-crazy. Marcus had cleared her to leave as long as she stayed in public spaces, so Iris did what she always did when life felt overwhelming. She went to look at art. The Whitman Gallery in Chelsea was hosting a group exhibition, contemporary pieces from emerging artists, the kind of show Iris dreamed of being part of someday. She wandered through the bright, airy space, studying paintings and sculptures, letting herself pretend for an hour that she was just a normal person living a normal life. She was standing in front of an abstract landscape when she felt it again. That presence. Iris turned slowly. Damiano Russo stood 15 feet away, hands in the pockets of an expensive charcoal suit, studying a sculpture of twisted metal and glass. He looked like he belonged here, cultured, refined, just another wealthy patron supporting the arts. No one else in the gallery gave him a second glance. But Iris knew better now. She walked over, keeping her voice low. "Are you following me? Or is this another coincidence?" Neither. Damiano didn't look at her. "Marcus told me you'd be here. I thought we should talk. Your people firebombed my street."
No.
"The Castellanos did." There's a difference. He finally met her eyes. "If my people had done it, the message would have been clearer. And quieter." "That's supposed to make me feel better?" "It's supposed to make you understand what's happening." Damiano gestured toward a quieter corner of the gallery, away from the other patrons. "Walk with me." They moved through the exhibition in silence, stopping occasionally to look at paintings neither of them was really seeing. To anyone watching, they were just two people discussing art. "The Castellanos think you're my asset," Damiano said quietly. "They saw us together, heard about Noah's debt being forgiven, and drew their own conclusions. Now they're testing boundaries, seeing how much pressure it takes to make you, and by extension, me, react. I'm not your asset. I know, but they don't. And that perception makes you what we call an identifiable variable." He paused in front of a massive canvas, all dark blues and violent reds. "Variables create chaos. In my world, chaos gets people killed." Iris felt cold despite the gallery's warmth. "So, what do you want me to do?" "I want you to choose." Damiano reached into his jacket and pulled out a slim phone, sleek, black, completely unmarked. He held it out to her. "One button. One function. If someone comes to kill you, press it. My people will respond within minutes." Iris stared at the phone, but didn't take it. "You think the Castellanos will actually try to kill me?" "I think they'll escalate until they get what they want. First intimidation, then leverage, then elimination. That's how this works." His voice was completely level, like he was explaining basic math. "The sketch made you visible. The debt forgiveness made you interesting. And now the Castellanos have decided you're valuable enough to fight over." "I'm not valuable. I'm just a person who was in the wrong place at the wrong time. In my world, those are the same thing." Damiano pressed the phone into her hand, closing her fingers around it. His touch was warm, steady, completely at odds with the words he was saying. "I'm not threatening you, Iris. I'm warning you. The police want to use you to build a case against me. The Castellanos want to use you to gain leverage. And he paused, something flickering in his gray eyes. "I'm trying to give you a way to survive this. By making me dependent on you for protection. By giving you options. That phone is an option. So is witness protection if you trust the police more than you trust me. Or you can walk away from all of this, destroy the sketch, leave New York, start over somewhere the Castellanos and the cops won't find you." "Those aren't real options," Iris said. "They're just different versions of running. Sometimes running is the smartest choice." "Not for me." Damiano studied her for a long moment, and Iris had the strange sensation of being catalogued, every detail noted, every reaction filed away for future reference. "You remind me of someone," he said finally. "Someone who refused to be afraid even when fear would have saved her life." "What happened to her?"
She made a choice.
"Stood her ground. And paid for it." His expression darkened. "I don't want that for you. Then stop treating me like I'm yours to protect." "I'm not." Damiano stopped, jaw tightening. "You don't understand what you're dealing with. The Castellanos don't negotiate. The police don't care about your safety. And I can't protect you if you won't let me. I didn't ask for your protection. You didn't have to." He stepped closer, close enough that Iris could see the exhaustion carved into his face, the weight he carried that no amount of money or power could lift. "The moment you sat across from me, the moment you drew my face, you became part of this. I didn't choose that. Neither did you. But it's reality now." Iris looked down at the phone in her hand, smooth, black, deceptively simple. One button. One choice. Press it, and she'd be accepting that Damiano Russo was the only thing standing between her and violence. That his protection was worth the cost of whatever came next. "Keep it," Damiano said quietly. "You don't have to use it. But if the moment comes, if you're in real danger, know that I'll come. No matter what." He left without waiting for an answer, disappearing into the gallery crowd like smoke. Iris stood alone, holding a phone that felt like both a lifeline and a chain. Iris stayed at the gallery for another hour, but she couldn't focus on the art anymore. She kept turning the phone over in her hands, smooth black glass, one button on the front, no branding, no serial number. It was elegant in its simplicity, and terrifying in what it represented. Press it only if someone is coming to kill you. That was her life now. Not if you need help, or if you're in trouble, if someone was coming to kill her. By the time she left the gallery, the sun was setting. The city was settling into its evening rhythm, Rush hour traffic, people heading home or out to dinner, the kind of normal chaos that used to feel comforting. Now it just felt vulnerable. Iris took the subway back to Queens, to the safe house Marcus had set up. She should have felt grateful for it. Instead, she felt trapped. Inside, she pulled out her iPad and stared at the sketch. Damiano's face looked back at her, every line perfect, every detail exact. His eyes, especially. She'd captured something in them that even he probably didn't realize was visible. Not threat or violence, but something deeper. Loneliness, maybe. Or the kind of weariness that came from holding power no one should have to hold alone. It was good work. Some of her best. And it was destroying her life. Iris set the iPad down and picked up her phone, her real phone, and called Noah. "Hey," he answered immediately. "You okay?" "Not really. Can you come over?" "I'm already on my way." Noah arrived 30 minutes later with takeout Chinese food and the kind of forced optimism that meant he was just as scared as she was. They ate in silence for a while, sitting on the floor of the anonymous apartment like they used to do in college when money was tight and life was simple. "I saw the discharge papers," Noah said finally. "Damiano really cleared my debt." "Yeah, that's incredible. I don't know how to." "He wants the sketch in return," Iris interrupted. "Wants me to destroy it or give it to him. Says it makes me a target." "Then destroy it." Noah set down his food. "Iris, seriously. Delete the file. Smash your iPad if you have to. Just make it gone. The police want it too. They think it's evidence. The police can't protect you. Damiano proved that already. They couldn't stop the Castellanos from torching your street. They couldn't keep your landlord from kicking you out." Noah grabbed her hand. "Look, I know you don't want to be indebted to a mob boss. I get it. But right now, he's the only one actually keeping you alive." Iris pulled her hand back. "That's the problem, Noah. The moment I accept his protection, the moment I destroy that sketch because he asked me to, I become his. Not officially, maybe, but in every way that matters. Better his than dead." "Is it?" She stood up and walked to the window, staring out at the street below. "What happens next month when he needs another favor? Or next year? Once you're in his world, you don't get out. You said so yourself. Then, what's your plan? Keep the sketch and become a witness? Go into protection and disappear?" Iris was quiet for a long moment. Then, she made her decision. "I'm burning it." Noah blinked. "What?" "The sketch. I'm destroying it. Not because Damiano asked me to and not because the police want it. Because I want my life back." She turned to face her brother. "Everyone's been making decisions for me. Where I go, what I do, who I trust. I'm done with that. This is my choice." "Iris, your debt is cleared. That's real. You're free. And I'm not going to be anyone's leverage or evidence or asset. I'm just going to be done." She walked to her bag and pulled out a lighter she'd bought at a bodega that afternoon. Then she opened her iPad, pulled up the sketch one last time, and stared at Damiano's face. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "You deserved better than this." Then she grabbed a sketchbook from her bag, physical paper she'd brought with her, and realized the sketch was only digital. She couldn't burn pixels. So she did something better. She exported the file to her laptop, opened it, and hit delete. Then she emptied the trash. Then she went into her cloud storage and deleted every backup. Every version, every autosave, every cached file.
Gone.
Noah watched in silence as she systematically erased every trace of the drawing from every device she owned. When she was done, Iris pulled out the phone Damiano had given her and Detective Salinas' card. She laid them both on the coffee table, side by side. 2 futures. 2 choices. She picked up her real phone and sent 2 text messages. The first went to Salinas. "I don't have the sketch anymore. I destroyed it. I'm not your witness. Leave me alone." The second went to the number on the white business card. "The sketch is gone. Tell Mr. Russo we're even. I don't want his protection, his favors, or his phone calls. I just want to be left alone." She hit send on both and felt something loosen in her chest. What now? Noah asked quietly. Now we move forward. You keep your job, stay clean, don't gamble. I find a new apartment, take on more clients, rebuild. Iris sat down beside him. We go back to being normal people living normal lives. You think they'll let us? I don't know, but I'm done waiting for permission. Outside, the city hummed with its usual chaos. And for the first time in days, Iris felt like she could breathe. The phone Damiano had given her sat on the coffee table, dark and silent. She didn't throw it away, but she didn't turn it on either. Some doors, she decided, were better left closed, even if you kept the key. 3 days passed. Iris found a new apartment in Park Slope, smaller than her old place, more expensive, but available immediately. The landlord didn't ask questions, didn't run a background check, just took her deposit and handed over the keys like it was the easiest transaction in the world. She didn't think too hard about why. Noah was settling back into his routine. He'd picked up extra hours at work, started seeing a therapist about the gambling, even joined a support group for people dealing with addiction. He seemed lighter somehow, like a weight had been lifted. On Sunday morning, he called her.
Iris.
You need to come to Manhattan.
Now.
What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. That's the problem. Just get here. Please. She met him outside a law firm in the financial district, one of those glass towers with names like Morrison, Chun and Associates etched into the granite. The kind of place where billable hours started at $500 and went up from there. Noah stood on the sidewalk, holding a thick manila envelope, looking equal parts confused and terrified. What is this? Iris asked. They called me yesterday. Said I needed to come in and sign some documents. I thought it was a mistake, or maybe a scam, but he handed her the envelope. Read it. Inside were legal documents, dense, official, stamped with notary seals and corporate letterhead. Iris flipped through them, her pulse quickening with each page. Debt discharge agreement. Portfolio restructuring statement. Final settlement notice. Noah's gambling debt, all $14,862 of it, had been purchased by a firm called Meridian Capital Holdings. Not forgiven. Not cancelled. Restructured. The documents explained in careful legal language that Meridian had acquired a portfolio of consumer debts from RRC Financial Services as part of a legitimate business transaction. Upon review, they determined that Noah's debt was non-viable for collection due to debtors' financial status and income projections. Translation: it wasn't worth their time to collect. So they discharged it, written it off, filed it through proper legal channels as a business loss.
No fathers. No math connections. No strings.
Just paperwork. Iris couldn't find the words. This is completely legal. I know. The lawyer explained everything. Meridian bought a bunch of bad debts at a discount, decided mine wasn't collectible, and filed the discharge with the credit bureaus. It's done. Over. Like it never existed. Noah's hands shook as he took the envelope back. But Iris, we both know what this really is. Yeah, Damiano Russo hadn't just forgiven the debt. He'd legitimized it. Meridian Capital Holdings was probably a shell company, or a subsidiary, or one of 100 legal entities that let the Russo crime consortium operate in daylight. They bought debts, restructured them, made money on paper while moving cash through legitimate channels. It was brilliant, really.
No enforcers. No threats.
No broken legs or intimidation. Just lawyers and accountants turning crime into commerce. He kept his word, Noah said quietly. Even after you destroyed the sketch and told him to leave you alone, he still cleared my debt. Legally. Iris stared at the glass tower, wondering if Damiano was somewhere inside, signing papers and moving money with the same calm precision he'd shown that night at Marcello's. This is how an empire becomes legitimate. Not through violence, but through patience. Through systems. Through making crime look so much like business that no one could tell the difference. What do we do? Noah asked. Nothing. We take the win and move on. That's it. That's it. Iris started walking toward the subway. He made his move. We made ours. It's over. But even as she said it, she knew it wasn't quite true. That night, alone in her new apartment, Iris got an email. No sender name. No subject line. Just an attachment. She opened it carefully, half expecting some kind of trap. It was a PDF, a single scanned document on official letterhead from the New York City Police Department. Case status update. Investigation into Vincent Moretti, deceased. Status. Closed. Insufficient evidence. Summary. After thorough investigation, this office has determined that there is insufficient evidence to pursue charges related to the death of Vincent Moretti. All persons of interest have been cleared. Case filed to be archived. Detective Maria Salinas. Organized Crime Unit. Iris read it twice, then a third time. They'd closed the case. Without the sketch, without her testimony, without any way to place Damiano Russo at the restaurant that night, the police had nothing. Moretti's death would go into the archives as just another unsolved mob killing. Tragic, but not unusual. Salinas had lost. And she'd made sure Iris knew it. The email felt like a final warning. You chose wrong. You protected a criminal. This is on you. But as Iris deleted the email and closed her laptop, she didn't feel guilty. She felt free. The sketch was gone. The debt was cleared. The case was closed. All the pieces had fallen away, leaving her exactly where she'd started, a freelance artist trying to make rent in Brooklyn, with a brother who was learning to handle his demons, and a life that was hers again. Almost. Iris walked to the kitchen counter where Damiano's phone still sat, dark and silent. She'd told herself she'd throw it away a dozen times. But she never did. It sat there like a question she didn't know how to answer. A connection she didn't know if she wanted to sever completely. Press it only if someone is coming to kill you. Iris picked up the phone, turned it over in her hands one more time, then opened a drawer and tucked it away. Out of sight. But not gone. Just in case. Because in the back of her mind, she knew the truth Damiano had been trying to tell her all along. Once you're seen by the right people or the wrong ones, you never really disappear. You just learn to live with it. 3 weeks passed like water smoothing stone. Iris settled into her new apartment, picked up steady work from 2 regular clients, started going to the Brooklyn flea market again, selling prints to tourists who didn't know her story and didn't care. Noah stopped by twice a week for dinner. He was doing better, really better, not just pretending. He'd been clean from gambling for a month, had paid off his credit cards with overtime earnings, even started dating someone from his support group. Life was normal again. Ordinary. Safe. And then, on a gray December afternoon, Iris came home to find an envelope on her doorstep. Not in her mailbox, on the actual doorstep, placed carefully against the door like someone had hand-delivered it. Heavy cream paper, no return address, her name written in elegant script across the front. Ms. Iris Blake. She took it inside, locked the door, and opened it carefully. Inside were 2 items. The first was a formal invitation on thick cardstock, embossed with gold lettering. You are cordially invited to exhibit your work at the Galleria dell'Arte Contemporanea, Florence, Italy. Exhibition dates: February 14th to 28th. Travel and accommodations provided. Please contact the gallery director to confirm your participation. Iris read it 3 times, her hands trembling. This was one of the most prestigious contemporary art galleries in Europe. Artists spent years, sometimes entire careers, trying to get shown there. And they were inviting her, a nobody freelancer from Brooklyn who sold prints at flea markets. It made no sense. Unless. She looked at the second item. It was a donor statement on official letterhead from the Galleria, listing contributing patrons who'd sponsored the upcoming exhibition. Most were Italian surnames she didn't recognize, wealthy collectors, and art foundations. But at the bottom, stamped in discreet black ink, was a single phrase. Anonymous patron, United States. No name. No details. Just that. Iris set down the papers and walked to her window, staring out at the Brooklyn street below. Brownstones and bare trees, people walking dogs, delivery trucks double-parked. Normal life. But underneath it, invisible threads connecting everything. Damiano hadn't contacted her. Hadn't called or texted or sent his men to check on her. He'd done exactly what she'd asked, left her alone. But he'd done this. One final move. One last investment. Not protection. Not pressure.
Just
a door opening somewhere far away, in a city where no one knew her name or her story. Where she could show her work in a real gallery, build a real career, become the artist she'd always wanted to be. Iris picked up her phone, her real phone, and called Noah. "Hey," he answered. "What's up?" "I just got invited to show my work in Florence, Italy." Silence. Then, "Holy shit. Iris, that's incredible. How did—" He stopped. "Oh, yeah. Are you going to go?" Iris looked at the invitation again. February. 2 months away. Enough time to prepare a portfolio, get her visa sorted, figure out logistics. Enough time to decide if she could accept this gift without accepting everything it represented. "I don't know," she said honestly. "It feels like, if I go, I'm acknowledging that he's still part of my life. That he still has influence over me. Or," Noah said carefully, "it means he kept his word. He cleared my debt legally, closed the loop with the police, and now he's giving you an opportunity."
No strings.
Just a door. There are always strings. Maybe. Or maybe this is what it looks like when someone powerful actually tries to do the right thing. Noah paused. You told him you wanted to be left alone. He left you alone. You told him you wanted your life back. He gave you a better one. What more do you want? To understand why, Iris thought. To know what I meant to him, if anything. But she didn't say that out loud. "Think about it," Noah said. "But don't turn it down because you're scared of what accepting it means. Turn it down because you don't want it. There's a difference." After they hung up, Iris sat with the invitation for a long time. She thought about Damiano sitting across from her at Marcello's, calm and controlled while an assassin watched from 3 tables away. The way he'd study her sketch like it mattered. The exhaustion in his eyes at the gallery when he'd tried to warn her about dangers she couldn't see. "You remind me of someone who refused to be afraid even when fear would have saved her life." Iris pulled out her laptop and searched for the Galleria dell'Arte Contemporanea. The website was beautiful, centuries-old building, vaulted ceilings, contemporary work displayed against Renaissance architecture. Past exhibitions featured artists she'd studied in school, names she'd only dreamed of standing beside. This was real. And it was hers if she wanted it. She opened a new email to the gallery director and started typing. "Dear Signora Rossetti, I am honored to accept your invitation." 2 months later, Iris stood in a gallery in Florence, watching strangers admire her work. She'd brought 12 pieces, street scenes from Brooklyn, portraits of people she'd met at the flea market, abstract pieces that captured the chaos and beauty of New York. The exhibition was small but well-attended, and by the second week, she'd sold 3 pieces and picked up commissions from 2 Italian collectors. Her career was finally beginning. On the last day of the exhibition, as she was packing up her remaining work, the gallery director approached with a handwritten note. "This was delivered for you this morning. No name." Iris opened it carefully. Inside, in elegant handwriting, were just 4 words. "You earned this yourself."
No signature. No initials.
But she knew. Iris folded the note and slipped it into her portfolio. That night, she walked through Florence's medieval streets, past the Duomo and across the Ponte Vecchio, and felt something she hadn't felt in months.
Peace.
She never saw Damiano Russo again. But in Brooklyn and Manhattan, in every casino and alleyway where his name carried weight, a story began to spread. The story of an unknown artist who'd drawn the king's portrait, the only person who'd captured his face and lived. The woman who'd walked into his world, refused his protection, destroyed his evidence, and walked away untouched. Not because she was powerful, but because she'd refused to be afraid. And sometimes, in the right circumstances, with the right person, that was enough. Iris Blake returned to Brooklyn 6 weeks later with a gallery contract, 3 commission offers, and a future that was entirely her own. The black phone stayed in her kitchen drawer, untouched. A reminder that some doors stayed closed not because they were locked, but because you chose not to open them. And that was its own kind of power.